My name is Jean Valadeo. I'm a senior reality capture specialist from ATG. I've been working with laser scanners and the reality capture scene for about 7 years now. I also have low voltage design, infrastructure, networking, design and concept behind me. And I've been working with ATG for a little over a year now. So I'm going to be going over using Rithm for site verification. And I'm just trying to get my co-host in today. Sorry for the confusion. But I'm going to start by just showing a little bit of what TrueView is. All right. Okay. So TrueView is a free software. It's easily accessible and downloadable on Leica's websites. The only thing about TrueView is that it's not Mac friendly. It has to be run on a Microsoft operating system. What TrueView does, it takes LGS files, which is a files type that's native to Leica, and it will run a point cloud system. So instead of needing other register softwares or other paid for software, getting an LGS file allows you to share this with your clients and shareholders, and you can distribute the point clouds and people can view them for free. I believe David has just signed on. Give me a second.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I can hear you. Sorry for the delay. How are you doing, man?
Good, yeah, sorry about that. I got the wrong link. It was as an attendee as opposed to a host there. So did you go ahead and do the introduction and then I can sort of hop into my bit or where are we at?
I was just showing TrueView right now, explaining that it's a free software. I haven't even gone into the controls. I can stop sharing and you can take it from there if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just, I'll just hop over and do my part. All right, it says that in order for me to share my video, you have to stop sharing your video, which is kind of odd.
Right.
Let's see if that'll work here.
Yeah, I've stopped sharing.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, so first introduction. My name is David McQuillan. I am the pre-sales specialist for Leica hardware and software at ATG USA. Really what that means is I'm the in-between guy. I'm the liaison between the technical world of our reality capture team and the sales world, our sales managers here at ATG, and also the liaison or sort of contact point between ATG as a reseller and Leica as a manufacturer as well. So I kind of assist with any sort of like the product demos, product quoting, just sort of any sort of talking about purchasing of the hardware and software, things like that. So Jean is going to do a great job today talking about Rithm, which is a plugin for a free software called TrueView. And you can see my screen, right, Jean? You're muted, but
yes, I can see your screen.
okay.
I can see your Chrome webpage.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the TrueView website here. So, you know, so I just wanted to show you where you can find it, right? So you just simply Google Leica TrueView download. It takes it to the TrueView page here. You're going to scroll down to software. And then there's two different things here. So I want to show you. So it's called formerly Jetstream Viewer, right? It used to be called Jetstream Viewer. Now it's called TrueView. There's two different types. One is the desktop version that's going to basically be installed locally on a computer and just sort of operate like any sort of other software, right? And then this one, the portable version, I think is really cool. And when we're talking about using a free tool to basically send to your clients or send to other people on your company or on your team to use some tools here, This portable version is pretty neat because what I like to do is create a Dropbox folder, put the portable version on there, put the LGS file in there, and whatever else, could be the IFC file, whatever. And then it'll execute out of that remote location, right? So that Dropbox folder. So what that tells you is, like, if you are working with certain types of people that, you don't want to labor them by saying, hey, can you download this software in order to view this thing? Simply all you have to do is send them a link and they can execute it from a remote location. So I think that portable version is super powerful in terms of, sort of more sharing the data. Now, if you actually want to be using this software, like for example, with the Rithm plugin, I would recommend using the desktop version, right? All right, so this is, again, like I said, this is TrueView software. It's the free one, not to be confused with the other versions that are paid for, right, that have licenses. And just to clarify real quick, the Rithm plugin that John will be talking about is a paid for plugin as well. But anyways, the other variations are essentially basically both either a cloud version, so you're uploading your data to the cloud, or it's a server-based version. And so, basically, however you want to do that, you want to host in the cloud or host off the server, right? So let's talk about for a second how you get the file in order to import into TrueView, TrueView/Rithm, right? Because Rithm is a plugin. First of all, you're going to need Register 360, right? You're going to need Register 360 for any of your Leica scanners, any of your scan data from Leica products. But also, in order to export an LGS file, you're going to need either the publisher license or the publisher pro license on top of your Register 360. And that's important, right? Because that's going to be the file type that's going to import into this software that we're showing today. So I just want to show you real quick. I'm going to open up TrueView and just briefly show you a couple tools. One, here's your open, here's your map view, which is sort of an overview here. If I click this button, it's going to go down to the cloud view. And then this is really unique here, the open visibility panel. First of all, it's just going to, first the tabs here. So you can turn on and turn off different layers, which I really like. So if you want to just view the point cloud or just view the photos, you can do that here. You can turn off your annotations, your geotags if you're using a BLK2Go, turn off the measurements that you've done. This attachment thing is super important. I think it's often overlooked, right? So one, this is going to be any sort of the annotations that you have. So if you were out using Field 360 and that will carry over and you're sort of taking pictures, writing annotations while you're out in the field, it'll carry over in an LGS file. If you're doing annotations in Register 360, that'll carry over an LGS file. Now, here's something people often don't realize is that you can import an IFC model, which you can basically export from Revit, right? And you can import it here and you can align your point cloud with your model at the same time, right? So that's perfect for sharing and allowing other people to view. But what's really cool is that you can go over here and then save your LGS after you've imported that IFC. And now the IFC is going to be saved in, it's going to be embedded in that LGS file. And now when you share this again with somebody else, they can individually download those components. So maybe so basically you can sort of use this LGS file as like a package, right? You're sharing the model, you're sharing the point cloud, you're sharing the photos, all this sort of stuff, all sort of within this package here, which is super neat. Other than that, it has a nice sort of annotations, pictures, video, markup, that kind of stuff. So again, really good for sort of sharing information. Going down the line here, we have options of going over the different UCSs. If you're in Register 360 and signed a couple different UCSs, you can choose them here. You basically got your clipping polygons here, right? Your clips, your measurement tool, and then again, like I said, your save project, essentially the VR tool, and then if you want to use a screen capture or video, and then this is basically the segue here of this plugin, which is now I'm going to bring it over to Jean. He's going to press this plugin button, and he's going to go over Rithm, right? So Rithm is a plugin for TrueView. So that's my part. Go ahead and take it away, Jean.
All right. So let me just quickly get let me get it open over here. Okay. So as David said, the plugin is paid for, but the software TrueView is free. So you can share the point clouds with all your shareholders. But when you open up, so Rithm is not the only plugin. There are many other plugins that you can use for this too. But for today's purposes, we're going to go over our Rithm. So over here, when you open up the Rithm, which was formerly called Jetstream, you've got 4 panels up on the top over here, which is your surfaces, your floor flatness, analysis, and ADA. I always like to start off going with the surface wizard, because what the surface wizard is going to do is clean up the environment, do some subsampling so that you're not taxing your machine extremely hard, and you can get the information you need just with whatever data you need for the time being. But I'm going to quickly, before I start the surface, when you import the LGS file, this is what let me just close that over here. I started a command apparently. So this is what the skip. This is what the command's going to look like. Your point clouds will come in, but you're going to want to just have some basic navigation skills. So I'm just going to quickly show you this view cube is how I like to always start. There are some shortcuts. So if you press and hold Alt, you'll be able to hit the edges. And then you can rotate this around just so that you can get the exact angle you need. And then when you push the faces, that will drop everything so that you can drop down. And instead of like having to tumble around, you can just press Shift and that will go through so that you can see the face behind. So if you don't press Shift, you hit the face up here. If you press Shift, you hit the back face. And then this will allow you to navigate through your environment. Now, this was a very cluttered office space that is under a demo environment. I can now navigate through here because I've used the view cube, and I can now just hit the points that I need to hit. So one of the first things I'm going to do is run my Rithm Power, Surface Wizard, and I'm going to start clicking a rectangle around the floor. Now, I've got all these panels right above me, and it could be a little difficult for me to see the wall. So what I can also do now is I can press spacebar. That pauses the tool for me, and I can now navigate into an area that's a little bit better visible for the floor. Press spacebar again, start the tool, and then I can press spacebar out, spacebar, spacebar, just so that I can see how to finish this. I think that's going to be okay. So I'm going to press spacebar, so I'm back in the tool, enter, and that closes it up. So now I've got a square environment over here that I'm, instead of working the entire environment. So that's also the other thing. Rithm is not good for like working an airport size floor, you know, or that tarmac. You want to be working in small little sections, and doing this filter, you can pick the section you want and get the information you need. So there's a lot of things going on here. I'm just going to go with the standard filter right now, but if you got a lot of piles and clumps, you can push this right up, and that would just work with the floor that you need. But because I'm going to be doing a heat map, I'm actually going to drop this down a little bit, and I'm going to go next, and it's going to generate this now. And what I'm going to be doing is working with a heat map. So everything inside this environment is going to be the area I'm going to be working on. Now let's do so I can also get contours, I can get heat map, and I can do my floor flatness straight from here. So let's just start with a heat map. Apply. And if I go over here, I can toggle point clouds off. All right, I obviously made too much. This is why you don't do a demo live with this stuff. Watch this. Here we go. All right, so here's a floor extracted of a underground parking. I can turn the points off, and I can also turn the setups off. So sometimes it's easier just to come and turn your setups off over here. And then I'll just turn him off over here so I can get, by the way, that's the other thing, you can only run the plugin with, you can only run the plugin once at a time. And go to, so you can see I've extracted out the floor over here. Heat map. Now, if I go to surfaces, I can hit a heat map and I can hit just the section I want. Using the same tools, press enter, apply. And over here, it's subsampled out, so it's only taking a certain amount of points. And I can export this out as a DXF now. So this can go straight into AutoCAD or any other file format. And I can start seeing where my hotspots are. At the same time, I can now come right back here, doing edit. I can turn my heat map off, so I don't have to worry about that right now. And I can go back to floor. Let's get some contours. I can get the contours. And now I've got some basic contours, and you can change how much bend and curve you need, the iterations. And this is just a very, very quick way of getting this contour information. The conventional method would be going through like Civil 3D or even your registration, but I just find that the Rithm plugin does this super quickly. So I can now also take this and export it out as a DXF. And these are the other type of file types that I can use, CSVs, user feet, and then send it out to the directory I'd like. Now, I'm also going to quickly show you, so when we go to edit, you could turn your layers off so that you're only focusing on the area you need. So let's quickly go over floor flatness. Now, with the floor flatness tool, you need to have an area that's longer than about, it's always best to take like an area that's about 20 feet plus, because you just need to have long runs for this to happen. So what you're going to do, you're going to now, in that filtered area, you're going to select a square patch that you want to work with. And then moving in the same direction. So I went top to bottom, and then I'm going to go left to right. I'm sure I was more than 11 feet there. And now I can run my tool. And over here, it will give you the exaggerated cross section. So if I go down to reports, I can now create the report over here. And it will show me if this would pass or not for the floor flatness. Now, the reason why this would probably be valuable is certain industries such as concrete pouring, you'd be able to show that your concrete is within the gradients and the level that you need it to be. And you can go to a client and show that it passes the tolerance levels. Now, right now, I didn't hit something correctly, but this would be the PDF that you'd send out and would let you know if it passed or failed. So this is also good for if this is your product, you can prove that it actually accomplished what you needed to. Or if you're having another contractor come out, you can validate that you got what you paid for. So that's kind of one of the important factors on the floor flatness is not only proving your work, it's to prove other people's work. Now, I'm going to move on to the beam analysis part of my little demo. So I'll go back here. And as I said, we quickly go to the manual crop, shift to get underneath, Alt to hit that corner. Sometimes it takes a second just for it to get it. It's okay. So we're going to validate to see if these beams are doing deflection or not. So we'll go up to analysis, your beam camber, and you're going to try get as much of the length as possible. And if you press hold shift, instead of having to do that whole double click, you can do the same run multiple times. So if you've got the same beam, you can do a whole area in one go. The same principles apply if you need to re-click something. You can like reposition your screen. You can press shift to move and then shift to get back. But once you're done, you press enter. But before I do that, I'm going to turn this upside down over here so we got a good view. So I got a good view of the area I'm working with. And now shift, press enter. Oopsie. And I crashed it. Ran two operations in one go. All right, let me do that quickly again. Oh. Apparently I got it already. So we'll go down to reports, get your beam analysis, create a report. And what it's going to be doing is it's going to select the first edge. So where you first clicked, the center, and then the edge, and then the far end. And it's going to tell you what the camber between the three, the average camber. Over here, you got a 0.03 deflection, which is well within tolerance. And what this elevation over here means, this 1.42. So when you're working with laser scanners, it always takes the height of the laser scanner as your 000, unless you're going into the registration process and doing your floor, actually putting a UCS and making your floor 0. it's going to say that this beam is 1.4 feet above what it believes the 0, 0 is, and that's the base of the laser scanner. So that's what this 1.3 feet is. Over here, you got probably 0.7 feet off 0 feet from the other two areas, but it still says that's good. Now, when the report comes in, you got all the beam lines, and then it will show you beam, and you can also label the beams. So if there's actually a specific name for these beams, whether it's concrete, metal, or wood, you label the beam over here, and it will show you which ones are good, which ones are not. So if you're putting load down onto a structure, and you want to know which beam is just hitting deflection, you can say that this beam is not within tolerance, or it's over cambered. You can add more, and it just allows you a good way of annotating and basically keeping track of your environments. So that is the beam camber analysis. I just want to ask, does anybody have some questions as to how this could use within their industry?
There is a Q&A portion down at the bottom for the attendees if you want to type in a question there. But I think for me, you know, this says as well, just like the concrete, it's, whether you did the work or someone else did the work, this is the way to basically verify and move on, right?
Yeah. So I mean, this is kind of the way I see this being very, very beneficial is as you're either paying for somebody's work and you're validating that you got what you paid for. And the other way is you're validating that you provided what the client paid for. Those are the two ways of doing this. Now, when you get into things like the ADA, that is to prove to a county or an inspector that you are within tolerance. We all know ADA is kind of strict with that type of thing. So this would actually provide a sheet that can be presented as an official document to show that we accomplished what needed to be accomplished. Now, also floor flatness and level will show that there are times where you need to have grades and levels so that you are within compliance. And that is also an official document, this ASTM 115. And that is more specific to like industries where it's concrete pouring. And I could also imagine outside grading. I was working with somebody where they were installing a playground and they needed to have the under area of the playground leveled out so that there wouldn't be any drainage issues once the soft foamy stuff went on top of it. And they validated the grade and was within the level that they needed before they poured the black tarry stuff on. I forgot the name of the word.
Before we move on to the ADA, I just want to say something real quick. You know, you could be doing the scans for these specific purposes, right? For the concrete, for the beam camber, things like that. But think about how much all the other data you're going to be getting at the same time, right? I mean, I think a big one for me is, I'm going to go back to the word verification. But let's just say you're a construction company and you do care about these tools and how to use them and to use them in those situations. But let's use the same data set, and now let's import that point cloud on top of your drawings and verify that those beams and columns are where they're supposed to be, right? Because if they're not, then that's going to have implications further down the construction pipeline, right? It's, you know, this beam is actually 3 inches to the left and it's rotated 4 degrees, right? Okay, well, now that's going to mess with whatever prefab I'm paying for, or it's going to mess with, you know, maybe the MEP or the plumbing where something's supposed to be going in that space that now that column is taking up. So I guess what I'm saying, the point of what I'm saying is you're going to be scanning, you're going to have so much information use these tools, but also think about all the other ways you can use these tools, or sorry, use the data rather. So just want to add that.
Yeah. So now when we get into something like 88, this is really to show that you are in compliance. And 88 can get kind of a little scary sometimes, but we can now quickly generate a report over here and then show that you're within a certain tolerance or not. Now, over here, it seems this one was built with a different standard because we're hitting a little over, but you would be able to be on the job site and you can validate that this is within tolerance. I mean, it doesn't look like it's out by much over here. But this would allow you to get that information in the field and be able to pass it out for, and knowing that when you leave a job site, your product is good. So this would be the slope, the report that you generate out, and it would show you intervals. Now there are multiple ways of how to run this through. You can actually run the gradient over. So if I had to exit out of that, go back to my edit, let's run another one over here. Slope. You'd be able to see where your slope is coming from. All right. Now, I also want to show, sometimes when you're working with a lot of data and some environments that get very convoluted, there is a tool called 3DR. So say you want to kind of clean this up and only get to the area that you want to work with. Maybe your computer's not too strong, or the data is just very, very, very all over the show. We can cut out the section that you want and only export that section through Register 360. And then you can manually pull out all the information. But maybe using a program like 3DR, you can use a process that's called order classification. Now over here, we have a building that we scanned down in LA. I separated the outside with the parking garage. So now I've just got the parking garage over here. I ran my classification tool and I can take out my vegetation. I can take out scanning artifacts, and I can take out the actual building. So over here was all the weird car parts. I didn't need any of that. I can now just toggle it on and off. And what I'm left with is my ground points. And this is really what I need to do a floor flatness analysis. So this is more of an advanced tool. It's not something you need, but now I can export out the LGS over here, and I can open that up in my TrueView. Once I've exported out the LGS, now I have that over here. And this was the demo set I was showing a little bit earlier. And this is so much easier for me to kind of work with. I don't have to worry about pulling out cars or people or anything like that. So I just have the clean, crisp data set. So this is just one of the advanced methods. If you're working with like a lot of data all the time and it just holds you back from getting that information, that's how I'll get around having to pull the stuff. 3DR can process all this information for you, and you can get to where you need to be a lot quicker. Also, the other thing I want to show is the TrueView remembers the work that you did. So you don't have to save it. You can cancel out and it will remember everything. But then what you got to do, you got to go up to edits, and you can turn off the different filters so that you can turn it back on. You can turn these filters on and off so that you're only showing what you need and what's relevant. And all this data over here can be exported out as a DXF, so that it can go straight into an AutoCAD environment if you wish. Now, there are a couple industries where getting this information as quick as possible is extremely beneficial. Dave and I were talking quite a lot recently about, say, companies like pouring concrete. David, how would you level concrete out? What's the conventional way of finding if your concrete's level?
Well, you'd probably have a screed guy, right? So we're talking about wet concrete, just got poured. You got a screed guy trying to basically eye it, right? I mean, you can't walk out there really, or you really shouldn't walk out there. You know, maybe you have a total station that's giving you elevations, but what I think the power that we want to show you right here is nobody has to walk on the concrete, right? I mean, we're basically, the workflow that John's about to show you is you do one scan over the wet concrete, right? So you never have to touch it, right? And then you import that straight away from an RTC 360. There's basically a thumb drive in the RTC 360, which is a Leica scanner. You plug that into the USB port of your computer, and then Sean's going to show you. You're going to basically import that file straight away. You don't have to put it into Register 360. That's really the beauty of this. So it's about getting super fast results. And then you're going to run that basically heat map or contour file, and it's going to tell the people in the field right there, okay, this is high, this is low, you know, somebody get the screed and let's level this out, and let's do one more scan before we leave and make sure we're good, right? So before he was showing you the LGS workflow, which is taking it through Register 360, exporting an LGS, putting it in there. That's a great workflow if you're not, basically if you don't need the concrete to be wet. But this workflow that John's about to show you is while it's still wet, while you're still right there, you got your laptop with you, you could just do it right at the same time as the pouring, essentially. So really powerful workflow. There's nothing else like it out there.
So say you're scanning with an RTC and you've scanned about 50 scans in the job site, but there's just one area that you need to validate right there and then. Pulling out the memory chip from the RTC and then dropping in the project folder allows you to select only one station, but you don't have to go back to the office. You don't have to register. You don't have to do any alignment or any editing. You are just taking that one single scan and you're dropping it into your laptop in the field. So you can scan. The RTC takes, depending on what your level, it will take under 2 minutes to do a single scan. So from really setting up your scanner to pulling out the chip can take you about 7 minutes, putting that flash card into your computer, and then just dropping and loading. Now, in under 20 minutes from actually opening up your scanner, you can be able to start validation work in the field. Now, if concrete is being poured, it's still going to be shiny by the time you're reviewing this. It's not, you don't have to wait for it to cure before you can get your measurements. I can now run this through into my TrueView, hit my Rithm plugin, and I can go straight away into doing my verification work. So let's quickly let's just get, so I can see my floor. And here's the other thing, it's not going to bring in color, and it's not going to do any subsampling or cropping of the range. It's going to bring in the entire scan as it is, with either intensity or black and white. Those are your grayscale. So these are your two options. I like right now working with high intensity, and obviously you're not going to be able to run auto cleanup, although after we starting to do this prep, Field 360 came up with a massive update that does in-field cleanup. So we're still testing how That's going to make everything so much better for us. But that is the other thing about Leica. It always gets better on the existing programs. So now, in under 20 minutes of actually scanning, I have this on a laptop in the field, and I can do my floor. Floor level analysis right away. And so while the concrete's still being wet, is still wet, I can go in here and validate that I'm good. Send out a report. Pack up my truck and say adios. Now, it will also show you kind of what these gradings are very exaggerated. There's a way of changing that for your setting, but being able to see if your floor is level, being able to get, say you got someone installing your ADA ramps, you can check the gradient on that. And as I said, like jobs where you're using, maybe you're installing playgrounds and you need to get gradients underneath, like for drainage, you can check that in the field, so you can do any editing right there and then. You're not having to rent equipment for longer than you need to. You can get the validation that you need in order to proceed to the next part of the job. And you're proving that your work or the work you're paying for is good. So this is the RTC is obviously more of an investment, but if time is crucial, I don't know how much it would cost to have to grind up concrete that's been poured and didn't hit the mark and then re-pour. You're grinding up, which is time, you're using resources, and you possibly even renting equipment, as well as really wasted material. There are just several ways where this time can get your return on investment extremely quick. And it's not, you don't need RTC to make this work, but this is, if time is crucial and being able to get that stuff done in the field, this is a fantastic way of getting that data out the door. Now, there's obviously, it's not a super complicated plugin. This takes maybe about a month to be really proficient, understand all of its abilities and its limitations and what you need to do from it. And I'm also a reality capture specialist. I'm not a civil engineer. I'm not a structural engineer. I have to personally understand what it is I need to extract from it, because I'm doing a lot of work in one program. But if you're a structural engineer or a civil engineer or concrete pour, you're doing one thing, which means you don't need all the tools. Although being able to provide someone else on the job site gradient information, heat map information, makes you more valuable as you're providing more data with what you're doing that's relevant for other industries. So that's also beneficial. I want to ask if anybody has any questions or would like me to demonstrate or go over anything some more. I've really gone over the full extent of what Rithm can do, but does anyone have an example where they see being able to get information within 20 minutes of the operation is valuable?
Well, when we're talking about value, right? The question I think of is, as the customer out there, whoever's listening, have you been in a situation where you didn't have the information, and not having information, how much did that cost you? Right? So we're talking about ROI of the laser scanner of this software, of being able to do this. How much did that cost you? what's the sum of that cost throughout the year of, you know, not verifying or not having enough information to know where you're at on things, and how much does that cost you, right? So that's the value I see in this, is, again, I'm going to use the word again, verification, right? Verification.
So, I mean, the whole ethos of the point cloud and reality capture is data today is now expected to be extremely accurate. In the past, sending a team out to extract information, you just expected floors, walls, and ceilings, and maybe 1 or 2 areas of interest. But now, having point clouds, we can say we need to get things like the duct diameters or the lengths. What are the runs of conduits? What's the grade of the slope? Because you can get this information, a human couldn't. But now we're always getting this information. And the reason why this is all beneficial is because we're not guessing nearly as much as we used to. Being able to not make costly mistakes can, at the end of the day, save you money with material and labor, and just being on a job site for only the amount of time you need to be, allowing you to move on to the next project. So you can now back-to-back book. You don't have to book out, so like reserve so much more space in case something happens. And using these methods, you become more efficient, more reliable, and also not needing as many personnel to validate or cross-check or basically double up on someone else's work allows you to not have to bring on more personnel than you need to. You can really take your team members that you have and really grow and develop them and make them the best they can be and more useful to you, and allowing the technology to make your company grow bigger and be more reliable and dependable to others, and offer other services that maybe were not something that you provided. This is the ethos of what reality capture is, and this is one of these tools that is becoming more and more valuable, and it's really making industry stand out a little bit more. So I mean, I'm really enjoying where Leica is going with this plugin, and I believe it's got a lot of potential, and I'm trying to find more examples in the world where on-site validation is just a game changer. So if anybody ever has more questions, please feel free to reach out to ATG. Our reality capture department is working with some really exciting and fun projects all the time, and we'd love to add more onto that. So if you have something that's a little out the box and you've never really thought about doing it because you didn't know if it could be done, reach out to us and we'll let you know. You'll be surprised what is capable of happening these days. Do you have anything else you'd like to put onto that, David?
No, I think that was really well said, and I think it's a great place to end this. Is let's just give it a minute, see if we have any questions, and if not, I think that's a good conclusion to presentation today. Let's see here. Let's check the Q&A. Yeah, we're good. So let's call it the end there.
Well, again, my name is Jean Valadero, Senior Reality Capture Specialist from ATG. It was a pleasure to do this demo this morning, and I hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of the other content on our channel.